I'm going to use the term everyone because that's going to fit. Because it's not just the divine and the archangels, but all of us there is a realigning to the divine. And as I am moving through, I will say the universe of the souls, but there's also some other areas, other universes that I'm moving into, but you are not as aware of them there, so I will not go into that. As I am moving into these areas and it is becoming tangible what has been occurring, there is a process that is happening. And it is okay because we think of it this way. This is a good way to explain this. Say that you see that there has been a natural disaster. Say there has been a hurricane. And you see it on the news and you see the videos of it, that there has been this disaster and there is this need. And so when you realize that there is this need, you gather up and you make plans and you along with others, just make the decision to bring necessary items and to go to this disaster area and to bring relief, to make sure they will have food and shelter and not just temporary relief, but you are going to make sure that they are going to be taken care of. But you're on your way towards the place where the natural disaster has occurred. And as you get closer, you may see downed trees or wind damage as you're getting closer. And you had already seen things on the news, but it's not the same. It's like, okay, I'm getting a more feel of what has actually happened. And then as you come to the area and you see the needs and you see the desperation personally and you see the faces and you smell the air and you feel the sun, it is, even though you knew what you were going to and what to expect, it somehow can still be overwhelming. And we know we have what is needed. We know we have everything that is needed to help to get everyone back and healed and safe and taken care of. But even though we know we have it and we have the skills to fix everything, to make sure there's going to be food, make sure there's going to be temporary housing, make sure there's going to be permanent housing built in, and everything's going to be taken care of, even though we know we have that all, and we know that it's being done, and there's no limit to funds as to what we can do, still we are overwhelmed coming into the disaster area. And so that is what many who are helping with this relief are experiencing. They are determined and they are moved by compassion and they know that it's going to be okay. But sometimes the situation itself and recognizing what it actually was and the magnitude of it can be a little overwhelming. We are all going through this process of coming to an understanding and acceptance and moving through this. But you do not have to worry that somehow something will be limited or we get it. We get it now. We're here. And when you tell us the stories of what you have gone through, we are listening. And we are acting in harmony with that. And we are doing everything that we can. And everything that we can do will accomplish what needs to be accomplished. There will be no lack. There will be nothing that will not be dealt with. Nothing that will not be fixed. Nothing that will not be rebuilt. Or not really rebuilt. Be built better. Because, once again, imagine that there is a hurricane. We are not rebuilding the flimsy houses that you had before. Or the things that were susceptible to the flood. We are making sure that what we are rebuilding will be able to withstand and deal with whatever needs to be dealt with. And you will feel confident in this because you know that it will be built to withstand whatever may come. Not that to expect more, something bad is coming, but you are going to be rebuilt strong and with everything that you need. You will, because you're always had the strong empathic qualities. You were not as disconnected from your divinity as some. In your strong empathic qualities, the channels that have opened up, not channels, well, yeah, we will call these channels is better than calling on a telephone, but you have opened the channels to many of your, we'll call them your team, your friends, your supporters, your helps and guides. And even when you're not having an outright direct conversation, there is still a connection there with them. And when they are going through this intense emotional thing, you are picking up on it. It's going to be okay. It's just a normal thing. But also when they are elated and wise, you will also pick up on those things also. So that is, I don't want to have to feel what they're feeling. When you're feeling what they're feeling, they're also feeling what you're feeling, and that helps with the whole process. We are all interconnected. And do not try to, I don't want to feel it all, because if you try to shut it off, you will be worse off. That is part of the problem. Once you disconnect from others, then your choices become more survival of the fittest. That is a part of it. The disconnection and becoming singular, and the needs of the singular become more important. That leads to that problem. So you're in this process of acclimation. It will become very comfortable as things clear up and even out. It will become very, very comfortable and feel very, very, very good. And you will go into that very smoothly. But just right now, when everybody's in a bit of a okay, think of it this way: you are prone to big, intense emotional drama and stuff, and some of those with whom are connecting with you and assisting with you, because they have not personally been in those experiences, have been less drama queens. Now they are getting it, and because you are as familiar with it as you are, your familiarity is going to help them through the process of the intense drama. So it is working out. It is working out okay. There is so much change. There is so much acclimating. There is so much adjustments being made. And as you know, for the human body, when you are asleep, that is the time for healing and realigning and fixing the most. There is much healing and realigning that is needing to be done. You will just go with it. If you feel tired, that is your body saying, okay, we need to do something. We're going to work on this. And it's much more comfortable and smooth when you're sleeping, because you have a better connection, a clearer connection to the spiritual side. And that way it's smoother and easier that way. Whereas if you are awake, you will tend to resist and fight the spiritual side more and resist the adjustments more. Whereas in sleep, it just naturally flows so much easier. And you just wake up, and when you wake up from sleeping, there's already a time period where you have to adjust to that. And if the changes took place while you're sleeping, having to adjust is something you normally would do anyway, so it's no big deal. So you don't have to be anxious or worried about or wondering about why that is happening. It is okay. Everything is fine. That is fine. There is no need to be overly anxious. There will still be adjustings. You may have some days where you feel less comfortable than others. There's other days you may feel way better than you ever have. So it's going to be a little bit of everything moving around. But it is fine. Everything's going okay. And I know that you feel that sometimes it is uncomfortable and you just want to push. You have often had that tendency to want to push others and other things away and hide. But when you do this, you also tend to go into a negative place of, I'm seeing it, it is like a pulling in spiral, downward spiral. It is this, that is what happens when you are trying to push everyone away. You're pulling into that downward spiral. By having and being in harmony with, it is also helping you to not go into your downward spiral. It is helping you to find that place of peace and harmony.
What's going on with my dreams? Why are they so unsettling?
You are empathic. And you're in a darkest of the dark place at a very, I'm trying to find the word for it. I want to say chaotic, but I don't want to necessarily make you think that it is necessarily a negative thing. It is a time of great change and fluctuation. And the nature of souls, no, it's not even just souls. The nature is to try to find a stable spot, in a sense, a safety spot. And everything is in us such an upheaval, and we're going into uncharted territory. We are not taking you from this place that you know everything about to that place that you know everything about, because we're taking you away from the something that does not work, and we're going to create something that does work. But because we're leaving some things open-ended to leave room for the souls to grow and create because they are so creative, we are not, it is not a limiting place. The place you are going to is not limited. It's much more expansive. And when we're doing this, the process of leaving behind all that you thought you needed to have to be safe feels very disconcerting. Not just to you, but to all of the souls. And it's not just the souls, but as you have, because of your conversation with Uriel, and as you heard the conversations or felt the conversations and the concerns of others of the archangels, there is a lot of processing and fluctuating of emotions and perceptions and ideas just moving around. In sleep, you are more easily connected to, or what you would call the spirit realm, and so therefore you are also picking up on just the general twists and turns. And it is sort of like, imagine that you are walking along and everybody has radios playing, but all the radios are playing different songs. So when you're walking in one room, you're hearing one song, but then when you walk to the next room, you hear another song. Then you walk to it, and as you walk along, and it's not that you don't like the songs, you may like many of the songs, but they may not be, it's not the same song. Like one person is listening to SpongeBob, and another person is listening to Sting, and then another person is listening to Simon and Garfunkel, and then another person is listening to Christmas carols, and you're not in the middle hearing them all at once. But when you start to go from just do your nice slow moving across the house, it feels insane. And you are picking up on that because you are picking up on a little bit here and a little bit there as you move through your night. And it's like they're all influencing you, and you're coming off with these bizarre and unsettling because you're picking up on all these different stations. Because sometimes when we are trying to communicate using words, and yes, the idea of using illustrations and picture images is easier form of communicating to you, but sometimes we are not sure that, because sometimes we become so focused on trying to find the right things or things to say, we are not focused on so much if it's being received clearly, because it takes from our standpoint, it takes a lot of intense focus on a time. It is like communicating from the divine realm to someone on earth is like trying to focus great volumes on a pinhead. And so we have to take like our magnifying glass and our fine tools to try to find the exact little thing to put together to try to build. We're trying to build it on this teeny tiny little pinhead. It's like, oi! So we get sometimes we become so focused on trying to get the great big information and ideas onto the top of the little tiny pinhead that we forget to see if you understand what we're talking about or if it makes sense. So if it sometime when we now or at times and we are trying to express something and it is not coming off clear, go ahead and speak up. Go ahead and make that clear. Wait a second, this isn't making sense right now, and there are also sometimes more than one of us trying to, like one person is talking and then was, hey, I have an idea. Why don't you say it like this way? So it's like, okay, this is coming along quick. The Great Mother has become pretty good at earth communicating. She does that fairly well. Light is not particularly inclined to human speaking. The Great Father is not so much words as there's a feeling, there's a supportiveness there. So he is not really a talking one so much. It's a quiet. He's there and he's doing these and he's putting these, but it's not really so much always words. Think of, even there on Earth, they said that many times they're talking about fathers being the silent, strong types. That is not too far off from how he interacts with Earth with communication limitations that are there.
He's got your back.
Yes.
But he doesn't say a lot.
It's not always in words. It could be a hand on his shoulder. It could be a smile. It could be a hug. It is those types of things. It's not always a big, long conversation. The Great Mother has found it. She is better at the communicating in the Earth way. The communicator really has a difficult time with words. I do well, but many times it is much as I said, it is trying to take everything and put it on a pinhead. And so when what you would call think or have thoughts, my thoughts are bigger, grander beyond your comprehension. It's bigger and grander than the universe comprehension of a thought. And then I have to find a way to bring it down and put it onto the pinhead size. And that I sometimes have, that sometimes is more challenging. It takes a lot of focus on my part to try to get what the complexities that are important for you to grasp, but to get them down to that level of understanding is more difficult. So it takes me a little bit more work. Actually, the Time Weaver has been very good at helping us in this process because she has lived there, and while she was there, it is a funny thing that she has done. She has made it a grand study of words, movies, stories, and she has done this so as to give us, herself and others of the divine realm, something to work with. If she had not been so much into stories and movies and art and especially the words, loving words and reading, then it would have limited our ability to communicate even further. So she has been her experience there has been very good at giving us something to work with.